And we're live. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Marketing Rules Live. If you're joining us today, thank you for taking the time. I'm Tayla, and I'll be leading today's discussion. I'm joined by James, Kat, and Chris. Today, we're talking about confidence, authority, and differentiation. Oh, I can't. That word's been bugging me the whole day. I'm sorry. In recruitment, marketing, more specifically, we're unpacking why so many recruitment businesses are visible, active, and posting consistently, yet they still struggle to feel commercially strong or clearly differentiated in their market. So let's just get into it. I want to start with something that I think sits underneath everything else we're going to talk about today. Why does confidence matter so much in recruitment marketing right now? So, team, from your perspective, why do you guys think confidence has become such a defining factor?
Who wants to go first?
I think it's how you using all the words, it's how you differentiate yourself, isn't it? There's a lot of noise in the market. There's a lot of recruiters out there putting out content, trying to kind of get themselves seen by their clients and candidates. And I think you kind of need to cut through a lot of that noise. And I think kind of the ones who are confident and have the clear messages are the ones that are going to kind of stand out. I think particularly kind of with the advent of AI, you've got a lot of posts and content things that are being produced in a very similar way. Things are starting to sound very similar. And I think there's a real danger in that because just nothing really has any personality to it. Nothing really has that kind of edge anymore. And I think kind of, just it's a very noisy, crowded market.
I think as well, confidence makes you more clear in your position and your messaging with what you want to say. Like, how many times have we been on a website or we kind of looked at something where it's actually really difficult to understand what stance they have, what position somebody has, or anything like that. And I think people who have confidence and are kind of leading the conversation, you know exactly who they are, what they're doing, what their message is, how it portrays, and like whether you kind of engage with that or not. I think if you haven't got confidence, you're sat on the fence and you're not giving any kind of opinion. And I think, a lot of people play it safe, right? A lot of people don't want to upset anyone, which is fine. I understand that. And I think, sometimes you've got to be confident in where you stand, in what your position is, and what your message is. And that just kind of, I think that sets you out. Like you said, Kat, with AI, like how many times have we seen just like the same phrases used over and over again? It's like fluff. Like people use AI, but I think they don't use it well enough yet. And a lot of the things that come out is just fluff and there's no confidence around what they're doing. And I think, having that confidence kind of sets you apart from everybody else in that way, I think.
Yeah, I agree. It is it battles against sameness, right? Which we have a real kind of potential problem within recruitment and recruitment marketing is, to Kat's point, that it's easy to look and feel like everybody else, right? To benchmark yourself against your peers and maybe just do just enough to look slightly different from them, but still be maybe a bit fearful of going that extra step and having an opinion and really doubling down in what your position is and what your message is. And I know we talk about this a lot on the webinar around kind of positioning and messaging and things like that. But that's where this confidence is driven from, right? If you feel that if you've nailed it, right, basically on who you want to talk to, who you're trying to kind of get in front of, and that's where that kind of confidence comes from. And that then feeds into everything else that you're kind of, not just your brand, but your marketing, the people within your business, the stuff that they're putting out. It just kind of filters through, and there's just a kind of that extra level to it. And everybody then feels, from that confidence, feels kind of comfortable doing that kind of stuff as well, because they know it's got their back, because they know it's all done well, it's been professionalized, and they can definitely then kind of have that presence. And that with that presence comes more confidence, and with that confidence comes more presence, and it kind of goes flip backwards and forwards. Once you've kind of got that, into the psyche of your business, I think that's where this becomes really, really important at that point. Sitting on the fence and just kind of dipping your toes sometimes isn't just enough. It's actually better probably just to just go in kind of feet first and, potentially make a bit of a mess of it. But, then and learn from that. But I think that's more the attitude. And you can see that with some of the brands, not necessarily always ones kind of that, just the ones that we work with, but you can see some of those kind of brands out there who've kind of like, right, we're going to own this little bit here, and we feel confident that we can do that, and we're going to go for it. Whether it always is as appealing as we want it to be, but we're not the target audience sometimes. So I think those are the kind of, that's why that kind of confidence becomes really, really kind of important in marketing generally.
Yeah, definitely.
I definitely agree with you guys. I also do feel that people get scared that their confidence can come off as arrogance, and then they stay in their lane, like you guys are saying. It's like that comfortable area, and they don't want to leave it, but it's actually what's so important. And I think confidence is felt before it is even analyzed. Two recruitment brands, like you guys said, can offer exactly the same service, but one feels clearer and more decisive because of how they position themselves. And I think that naturally leads into authority. So from what I've been seeing in the market lately, and what we've all as a team have been seeing in the market lately, why do you guys think so many recruitment brands struggle to project real authority? And what do you think usually sits behind that?
I'll go first. Well, I think with a lot of businesses, I think it's kind of related to this confidence thing, and they're not really sure what authority looks like within their space and what they should be talking around. So it's a bit kind of abstract to them. I think they probably know what they want to say, but then doesn't authority comes from almost the way you say it and the way you project it. And I think that's sometimes the bit that's missed, and it's a bit muddy and a bit abstract and not necessarily clear. And so that's where you kind of struggle to get your kind of your point across and to prove that you've got authority, which then potentially can affect confidence. And then it all kind of starts to kind of unravel, basically. I think those are kind of some of the things that some kind of, businesses can really kind of struggle with.
Yeah. I think kind of if firms haven't defined that that positioning of who they are and who they want to be talking to, what the target market is looking to hear, there's kind of this sort of just generic kind of tone to everything, and it, like you say, it kind of leads to that sort of that lack of confidence, that lack of authority in what they're saying, because they're just trying to say a lot of nothing to a lot of people. Rather than being really kind of narrowed in on this is exactly who we want to talk to. And I think kind of not just repeating, even if you know who you want to talk to, it's not just saying, well, this is what's going on in the market. But what does that mean? This is what's going on in the market, but this is what it means for recruitment. This is what it means for those firms. In our opinion, this is what we're seeing and hearing, and sort of taking a bit of a stance on it. And rather than just repeating back what people may or may not know what's going on, it's just adding that bit extra, isn't it? It's that sort of extra added value to the information that you're putting out there.
Adding that like so what value, isn't it? Like this is happening, but so what does that mean? And that, I agree. I think a lot of people kind of struggle with authority because they're trying to say something to everybody. How many times have we kind of spoken and engaged with businesses that have their fingers in so many different pies in terms of industries and so many different levels and things like that, and you just think you're trying to appeal to everybody, but you're actually appealing to no one. So is it better to have a larger piece of the pie in something a little bit more niche and then throw yourselves into that kind of authority space there, I guess? It's you can't be valuable in absolutely everything, right? I think pick your lane and stay in it. I also think that it's kind of strategy as well. What strategy have you got behind being authoritative? Within what does that look like? What does that mean? What kind of rules are you following? What guidelines are you following? And I think you need to have that strategy there and what that looks like. And if you don't, then you're just posting out anything and everything, and that doesn't. It looks sloppy. It's not. You're not showing authority. I think people need to have that kind of strategy and how to approach it.
So it's interesting, actually, on that point. Again, this is blowing our own trumpet maybe a little bit, but we've just started working with a recruitment agency. Myself and our amazing colleague Jess are about to start kind of a piece of work, and this company we're going through this kind of process with them, and they've kind of decided this. So there's two parts of the business. There's a very kind of high street kind of that kind of generic kind of recruitment kind of aspect to it, and then there's a very kind of defined kind of IT aspect. And we made the point to them that this bit over here, the stuff that's kind of your admin people and that kind of stuff, very difficult to be really, really niche when you're trying to kind of position yourself there on the IT aspect. There's all kinds of niches and positions we can kind of take up within there and build authority into that space, and kind of give you the right kind of content and make you kind of authoritative, and that builds that confidence and increases your brand value and that kind of stuff. So as I said, not blowing up, but it's kind of the thing that that we do for businesses, and we're aware of. And anyone watching this who's kind of thinking about, well, maybe I sit within that space where it's all a bit kind of generic and we're doing that kind of thing. There is ways you can kind of do it, but it is difficult then, right? So this doesn't always work in every single kind of scenario. This business we're about to start are lucky because they've got the IT kind of aspect where we can kind of really niche down in. But if you are a bit more kind of high street, then it is difficult really to kind of, because you are trying to appeal to most people at that point, and it is always going to feel a bit kind of muddied and abstract. So it's great, we can kind of sit here all day, but there are still businesses out there, I guess, in recruitment who just are always going to struggle with this as well, right? Yeah.
I think kind of, like you say, it's that direction, isn't it? And that kind of understanding of who are we talking to? What are our campaigns? What are our key messages for this month, year, that we want to be known for, rather than the sort of reactive type of marketing, which recruitment does naturally tend to fall into. It's a very reactive market, and has a tendency to fall into that very quickly without that strategy. And then it just becomes like, oh God, what are we posting today? And then it just becomes that noise. And without that clear strategic direction from the business, because a lot of the time marketers don't have that, or they struggle to get that from the business. Maybe the business don't really know what are we trying to achieve with our business, because obviously the marketing should always follow that. The marketing should always support that. But if the business and the leaders aren't being clear about the strategic directions and goals, we're trying to hone down on this market, or actually we're going to go and open a new market in this direction, or we want to really kind of differentiate and start up a completely new division that we've never done before. And without that kind of knowledge, without that kind of direction as a marketer, you can never be authoritative, even I can't say it now, or confident, because you don't know you don't know who you're meant to be talking to and why you're meant to be talking to them, and what the business is trying to achieve, to then give the right messages to kind of build that kind of presence. So I think a lot of it does come down to, like you sort of both alluded to, it's that strategy and direction, because otherwise it does just fall into that reactive tendencies.
Yeah.
I do also see like a lot of brands, they're obviously extremely active on LinkedIn, and then they think that that's what's building their confidence, because there's that repetition. But just because there's repetition and clarity, I said that incorrectly. Just because they're like visible online 24/7 and they're always there, and they could be super confident within their branding, but like you guys said, with the actual context that they're putting out there, it's very generic because it's very safe. And obviously with that, authority comes from repetition and clarity, not just the visibility. So that brings us to our next point, and it's something that gets confused a lot with one another. So I think this is where a lot of recruitment businesses misunderstand what's actually happening, because there is a very big difference between being visible and being differentiated. So what, in your guys' opinion, is the difference in practical terms between the two of those things?
Go on, Chris. Go on. You take this one.
I think being visible, people are seeing you. Go, okay, LinkedIn, you post on LinkedIn. Okay, cool. Like I'm seeing you on an email in my inbox. Great. Okay. But, do people remember you when they need you? And I think that's the difference between visibility and being differentiated. When you've got a specific problem, who do you go to? And I think, yes, if you're not saying anything at all, but you're posting out lots of different things, great. People are going to remember, are going to see you, and that's it, really. They might remember your logo, they might remember your name, but they don't remember your stance on anything. They don't remember what you stand for. They don't remember exactly what you do or things like that. And I think that's the differentiator, right? I think that there is a difference between what you're saying, how you're saying it, and things like that. I just think it's kind of that whole forgettable thing as well, isn't it? And niching down and kind of looking at exactly what you are saying and who you are standing out to. So, if you're an IT recruiter, James, for example, like you just said earlier, IT covers so much. It's a broad industry, right? Can you be even more niche around that and break IT down into specific sectors within that? And I think that's the difference. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think you can be both. I think it's possible to be both, right? And I'm gonna again not blowing our own trumpet, but I think ThinkinCircles, and we do a pretty good job of being visible and different, both at the same time, and being consistent, and putting out what probably is a lot of content compared to what a lot of other people, maybe other businesses and other recruiters, and maybe even our kind of peers kind of do. But we spend a lot of time basically trying to kind of hone this down and make sure that it was going out with had a voice, had an opinion, it's got a tone, it's got a direction. Have we got it right? No, because these things kind of take time. But I think you can. I think it is absolutely possible to do it. And the problem is the way that a lot of the platforms that we are so used to using almost just force you to be consistent and kind of do that. So trying to kind of be visible, different, and consistent, all three things is difficult. But that's what LinkedIn wants. That's what Facebook wants. That's what all these, they want you to just continually be on there. So you have to try and kind of figure out a way around that, how to navigate that. Because as you said, Chris, if you don't do stuff on these, if you're just doing lots of stuff, right, that's not going to work. But you've got to do lots of stuff because that's half the battle, right? Then when you're doing lots of stuff, you've got to figure out, okay, what is it going to do? What do we want it to do, right? With a lot of kind of recruitment agencies, they fall into the thing of, we're just going to post lots of jobs on there, right? And you know what? They tend to try and get a certain amount of engagement. They might get some likes, but again, it's kind of like, is it doing what you really kind of want it to do on these kind of, these platforms? Is it building your authority? Is it building your kind of visibility? Is it building your brand? Is it building your consultants' brands? We haven't kind of necessarily touched on that. The fact that you want consultants within your business to be to mirror that, right, from your brand. They need to be authoritative. They need to be kind of have an opinion. They have to stand for something as well, have a tone. Just by posting lots and lots of stuff doesn't do that. Just by posting lots and lots of jobs doesn't do that. You're right, but you need to do that as part of that process as well. I kind of waffled a little bit there and kind of gone off in a bit of a tangent. But the point is, I think you almost have to be both, right, visible and different to actually to crack this code, basically.
Yeah, it's not just how much are we posting? Are we posting every day? But it's, are we becoming known for the things that we want to become known for while we're posting every day? Is that helping to to all contribute to that.
Yeah. As we say, right? As I use the term always about owning the conversation, right? And a conversation is a two-way street, so you've got to be there to kind of keep that conversation going, and you kind of then even kind of using that as your kind of philosophy means you've planted your flag into something as well, right? We're going to just talk about this, and we're only going to talk about this, and we're going to make sure that when anyone thinks of this topic or this whatever it is, they think of us, right? So that's the kind of, I think that's kind of the way we try and approach it, and that's hopefully the way we try and kind of help our clients to approach it. You don't have to talk about everything; just talk about something that you know the shit out of, basically, right? You know what I mean? And all recruiters will know something, right? All recruiters will have that. They'll have that thing that they can plant. They'll have that knowledge within their business. So it is possible to do all this. You don't doesn't necessarily need us to kind of support you. You can do that, right? You just kind of got to give it some thought to say, right, we're going to do it consistently. We're going to be different. We're going to own it, and we're going to do it kind of over and over again, and we're going to do it in the right places, basically.
I think a lot of recruiters forget how much they know, how much intel they have on the market that no one else has. You're talking to all these clients, you're talking to all these candidates. And a lot of the time, I'll be having conversations with recruiters, and they'll be like, we don't know what to talk about. You're getting, you forget all of that intel in your head of what's going on with the candidates. What are people telling you? What are their frustrations? What are their pain points? What are the difficulties? What are the challenges they're coming up against? Use that.
It's amazing intelligence. You've got research and easier than ever, right? Because you can record all those calls, stick them into AI, and just churn through all that, right? You've got probably years and years of kind of data to kind of like to pull upon. I don't know. Again, that's slightly off topic again, but it's like it's there at your fingertips, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I definitely also think that when your differentiation is weak, the commercial impact starts to show. So let's talk about the commercial side of this. What actually happens commercially when confidence and authority aren't aligned? In my opinion, I think when authority is weak, you feel it in the conversations. You have to justify your value more and more to people, and that slows everything down for you. And I don't know. It's just feel like rather being known and confident, like we've been saying, and not just being so generic, it helps you so much in the long run. You're not just sitting there begging people to work with you and trust you.
I mean, I think you kind of, made a great point there about the trust, because that's ultimately what you're trying to do with your marketing and personal branding and consultants, is building that authority and trust before you even talk to someone. So if you're not doing that, it's making your conversations a lot longer, a lot harder, because you're having to do a lot of extra work. Excuse me.
Okay, sorry. So it's interesting because we spoke about this at the Recruitment Agency Expo. Pretty much this exact kind of topic, right? This is what we talked about there was and how all of this kind of activity can kind of affects the bottom line, right? From kind of building that authority, building trust, being consistent, talking to the right people at the right times, being kind of just present, right? And having a bit of a strategy behind this, in the end, starts to affect all kinds of things. One, things like time to hires, and being able to protect your margins, and all of that kind of stuff, and shortening kind of sales cycles. It all can have an effect, right? By projecting that kind of authority, projecting that kind of confidence. And maybe what we'll do is we'll follow up. We can kind of share the link to the presentation that we did, because we kind of cover all this, and we talk about this kind of really. We kind of really dig into this around why if you're not doing this stuff, actually it can really kind of hit your bottom line. And there's proven examples of where you do more and more of this, and it starts to kind of like, and things like being able to protect your margins, right? This is what a lot of kind of agencies are always getting battered with, especially when there's a downturn, right? If there is going to people come to like, well, these guys over here are going to offering this, so can you offer something similar? It ends up being erased at the bottom. But if you put yourself in a position of authority and you said, look, I know what's going on in the market, I understand it, look at all this stuff we put, this is what you should be paying, right? We give you the value. This is the value you're getting because of this, right? Because it's all being projected out there. Look at everything else we've got on the website, all that kind of stuff, and how knowledgeable my team are because of all that stuff they talk about there. You're going to pay this, right? Because that's the value you're going to get for it, and you're going to get a superior service, right? So things like that. That's where this can have this kind of knock-on effect.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Oh, sorry. No, carry on.
You just cut me off. That's fine. I'm joking. I haven't got that much more to add, to be honest. I think it's again just a massive trust thing, isn't it? I think, for things to move quickly within any kinds of sales environment, you've got to have trust with who you're buying from and who you're selling to. And I think if someone's buying from you, they need to trust you, and you're going to get that through showing your authority. And things move quicker, things move slower based on that trust. You don't have to sell again if you've done a great job and people come back to you. So I think, like you guys said, trust is a massive thing. And having that authority helps with that.
So we've been talking about like all the problems and how you can, basically what you need to do. And I thought, especially from you guys that have, much more experience than I do, from a strategic perspective, what does strong recruitment marketing look like when confidence, authority, and differentiation are properly aligned? I know success looks different for every single different business, but just in plain simple terms, like just to, try and get the people that are watching this wanting to have all of this corrected in their business and have it all well done. What would you guys say that success could look like for them?
Having a plan.
Sorry, go on, Chris.
I was just going to say, having a plan, having a strategy, and knowing what you want to talk about, and also probably knowing who you are as a business. I think that's your foundations need to be there, right? Who are you? What do you do well? What don't you do well? And then go from there. I think a lot of people miss, especially people that we talk to in recruitment. What do they? Sorry, that just distracts me. Whenever that's me just kind of doing stuff in the background. Who are you? Reach out to your clients and say, what do we do well? What do we not do well? What does that look like? I think a lot of people think they know what they're doing well or not, and they think they know what their clients want or the audience want, but they don't do any kind of asking around. What is it? What do we do? Collect those testimonials, collect those case studies. That's going to add trust. That's going to add authority to you. And I think you need to start there. And then once you know where you are, where you sit in the market currently, understanding where you want to go, having those goals, that's when you then have to put in a strategy and a plan. And I don't think you can do this with just be reactive. It's not going to work. You need to have an end goal, I think.
Yeah, there's got to be very kind of honest conversations between the business leaders and the marketing team, so that everybody understands what the strategy is for the business, and then the marketing strategy, and then the positioning, the target audiences, the messaging, the campaigns, that all flows from that, and it should all be kind of planned and mapped out to make sure it's all aligned and it's all supporting the growth plans.
I agree. I've got nothing much else to add to that. I would only just be repeating what Chris and Kat said. But yeah, it is exactly that. It's around planning, it's around strategy, it's around forecasting, it's around it's about being proactive, and it's about thinking it beyond a 12-month kind of cycle, which can be very kind of, which kind of keep you in a loop. You've got to think kind of where you want to be in 5 years. You might not get there, but that's where the marketing should be aligned as well. So yeah.
Okay, so as we wrap up, today's conversation really highlights that confidence in recruitment marketing is not about being louder. It's about clarity, conviction, and strategic alignments. So thank you guys so much for joining us for the Marketing Rules Live. If there are any topics you would like us to discuss in future sessions, feel free to comment below and let us know. And for further insights into recruitment marketing strategy, you can subscribe to our newsletter Inside the Circles. The link is in the caption. And then I will also go add the link to James's presentation that he did at the Rec Expo about the attention economy. So yeah, we hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you next month.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
And well done, Tayla.